about indoctrination, though? Or how do we make sure that our kids are educated and not indoctrinated?
This sometimes can be very difficult, especially for a parent to discern if you have a teacher that is really trying to look at both sides of the issue, but a parent sees what's going on in the classroom and they think that it's indoctrination when really a teacher is just trying to get students to think about a diverse number of views. My wife, being a high school social studies teacher, she always gives diverse views in what is happening in the classroom. And so if you take a snapshot of that, it looks like indoctrination, when in reality, it's really a teacher doing what they really should, which is to really try to have students explore multiple points of view. But unfortunately, there are many teachers, unfortunately, in North Carolina that believe it is their job, it is their mission, it is their calling to only represent one view, whether it is something like critical race theory or critical gender theory. There are teachers, especially younger teachers, that come out of schools of education that believe that this is not indoctrination, that it's actually just their way of creating enlightened citizens. Well, we know that that's a very scary concept for them to try to maintain. So parents, of course, should be vigilant in everything a child brings home, every test. Try to do as much monitoring as possible. If they have questions about something, approach a teacher and have a discussion about it. Don't automatically assume that the teacher is trying to indoctrinate a student until you get all of the information. But it is happening. And unfortunately, what we're seeing is there isn't a good way for us to get a good handle on how much indoctrination is happening. Now, people don't think that that state statutes or state laws or regulations say anything about this, but we actually have a code of conduct for teachers that was passed years ago by the State Board of Education that says that teachers are not to use their classroom to advance their personal, political, or ideological agenda. This is something that has been part of the rule book that the State Board of Education has for years. And I don't know that teachers know that. I don't think a lot of teachers understand that part of their responsibility as a professional is to remain neutral in matters of politics and ideology. So it's not as if we need to pass a law. We just need to enforce a regulation that's already in place. And our schools of education, our teacher training institutions, need to start looking at teacher training in terms of it being a profession that welcomes all people. And the teachers are going into a school with students with diverse views. I fear that schools of education, and I've graduated from 2 of them, have gone so far down the road of essentially teaching teachers how to be indoctrinators that many teachers don't know the difference between providing an opinion or providing a fact. And I think that is a very dangerous precedent to have. There are parents that are just tired of it, and they'll go to a charter school, they'll start homeschooling or a private school because they are just so tired of their child coming home and insulting former President Trump or insulting Republicans or conservatives. We saw just a glimpse of some of the things that were happening in the classroom with the Lieutenant Governor's Task Force, which I was honored to serve on. And that was just the tip of the iceberg when you see some of the attempts of teachers to indoctrinate students, even in classes that you wouldn't expect, science classes, and probably the most egregious one in the Facts Task Force report. There was a dance teacher that was trying to indoctrinate students. And when you think about the fact that it's not just English or social studies, but it's science and electives, you realize the massive scope of the problem and just how little we know about it.
Oh, absolutely. Excuse me. So how does school choice factor into all of this?
Well, North Carolina is a school choice state.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, and we have come certainly a really long way when it comes to developing and cultivating school choice in North Carolina. And I'll give you the example that The market share for our district schools just 10 years ago was 87%. In other words, 87% of our student population were in district schools 10 years ago. This last year, it was 77% were in district schools. This represents a groundswell of parents discovering the benefits of school choice and taking the leap to have their child attend a school of choice. This is all led by our homeschoolers, with probably the fastest growing homeschool population of any state in the nation. As a percentage of our student population, we actually have the largest homeschool population. So our homeschoolers, our homeschool population is absolutely massive at over 160,000 children. And these are really communities. These aren't kids that are locked up in their house all day. These are kids that are meeting with other homeschoolers. They're going to co-ops. They're going to museums. There is more cooperation in the homeschool community than in a lot of public schools, to be completely honest. And that has really brought in a lot of people to embrace homeschooling, not just conservative Christians, but even those that are not. You see that people of all faiths, of all political orientations starting to homeschool and realizing the tremendous benefits of it. I serve on the Charter School Advisory Board. I'm proud that North Carolina has well over 200 charter schools at this point. We're going to enroll somewhere between 140, maybe 145,000 students in public charter schools this year. I started a public charter school of my own, so I think they're just absolutely wonderful, and they're bringing all types and sorts of innovation to North Carolina that didn't previously exist. And then our private school population continues to grow with about 115,000 private school students. That is really being driven by our voucher programs, Opportunity Scholarship Program for low-income children, and our ESA Plus program for special needs children. These are innovative programs that are enrolling tens of thousands of students in private schools so that parents have that option, whereas they may not if they didn't have the resources to be able to afford a non-public school for their child. So when you look at what's happening in the school choice movement in North Carolina, it is very encouraging. Does that mean we should take our eye off districts? Absolutely not. They still enroll well over 1.3 million students, and the majority will be in district schools for the time being. It is really incumbent upon conservatives and Republicans to ensure that while we continue to cultivate the school choice movement and we continue to celebrate school choice, that we also be mindful of serving the majority of children that are in our district schools. They need us.
Right.
And they need us to be active and be advocates for them. Otherwise, their advocates will be individuals from the North Carolina Association of Educators and other radical groups that are trying to truly undermine the very purpose and foundations of public education in North Carolina.
I could not agree more. Do you think that this competition that you've just talked about with all of the different schools, do you think it's going to help improve our learning environment?
It has, and there's research that tells us of the competitive effects of charter schools and other types of school choice on district schools. And there are lots of effects, lots of positive effects, not just for the schools of choice, but for the districts as well. So it really goes both ways. Now, we don't have a free market in education. It's important to remember that. We restrict the number of charter schools. We restrict charter school enrollment. Private schools are limited because the amount of capital necessary for a private school to be able to operate is always going to be limited. Most people think of private schools as being wealthy with their own dormitories and their Gothic architecture, but most private schools in North Carolina are small church-based schools that don't have grand buildings, and so we don't have the kind of venture capital to be able to have a rapid expansion of private schooling in North Carolina. But it continues to grow, and it will continue to grow as entrepreneurs such as Bob Luddy and others create pathways for students to attend private schools. His Thales Academy, I think, is a national model for being able to scale a low-cost, high-quality private school. North Carolinians are fortunate to have access to it. And I think we're going to see other types of innovations on the private school side that's going to expand access to those seats. I've seen the charter school applications. I have seen what the charter schools are doing. There continues to be a tremendous interest in creating new charter schools. So every year we're adding 5, 10 charter schools in areas sometimes that desperately need a charter school and don't have one. That is really the next challenge, is making sure that those individuals that don't have access to a charter school will have access, because those of us in Wake County, in Mecklenburg County, in Guilford County have plenty of access. The same is not true for many in rural and low-income areas.
You're right. Well, what are we missing? What's the number one message that you deliver to school board candidates, parents, and voters as we are approaching fast our election day?
I want everyone to go to a website. And yes, johnlocke.org is one of the websites they should visit, but they should visit another. It's called the Teacher Working Conditions Survey. The 2022 Teacher Working Conditions Survey, where almost every teacher in North Carolina took part in a survey that's given every 2 years, and they asked teachers, what's going well with your school, what's not going well? And if you look at it at the individual school level, because each individual school's results are available, you see some things that will make your eyes pop. The first of all, if you have a low-performing school and you go and look at their Teacher Working Conditions Survey results, you find they have 2 complaints, sometimes 3, but 2. They're bogged down with paperwork. The students are misbehaving, and there is very little control of the student environment, and they have poor leadership. They're not complaining about resources. They are complaining about the working conditions that make it impossible for them to stand in the front of their room and conduct a lesson. Make it impossible for students who want to work to be able to focus. The Teacher Working Conditions Survey is a roadmap to what our teachers need. And while there are schools that don't have adequate resources when it comes to things like instructional materials, when it comes to other types of resources that help them be successful in the classroom, the biggest complaints that teachers have are very, very simple. They need more time. They desperately need more time. Let's stop piling the paperwork. Is the paperwork necessary? Is it actually helping? Is it doing what we have intended it to do, or are we just checking it off a list? Are the school leaders that are hired to lead these schools actually leading? Or are they just looking for the next promotion into a central office, into another school district, into another payday? And are parents and communities making sure that they hold their children accountable for how they behave at school? And is the school holding children accountable for how they behave when they're at school? Are they doling out punishments consistently? Are they treating students with respect, but also ensuring that there is a firm and unwavering discipline policy with clear expectations for how students should behave and what the consequences will be when they don't? This may sound basic, and I know that there are people that are probably thinking to themselves, well, this is just common sense. Well, yes, it is. But unfortunately, we have to have things like the Teacher Working Conditions Survey to remind us of what really matters when it comes to improving schools, and that's working conditions. We hear so many complaints about money. We hear so many complaints about the Leandro decision and about the need for us to throw money at schools. But no amount of money is really going to fix those 3 problems that I just mentioned. It's going to take an entire rethinking and rededication to ensuring that our schools' working conditions serve our children, serve our educators, and serve our communities.
You are so right. Absolutely. Well, one last thing before we go. You have the high distinction of being recently suspended from Twitter for exposing what some of the teachers' unions are pushing into classrooms: political activism, social ideologies, sneaking around parents. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Every year, the National Education Association has something called the Representative Assembly, and this is their main meeting where they get together, they establish new policies, they talk about various issues, they give a lot of awards out, and along with the Representative Assembly in past years, they have published their agenda. Well, this year they didn't. And everyone wondered, what is the NEA talking about, their Representative Assembly? Because they didn't publish their agenda, their business items, whereas in years past, they freely did it. One of the reasons why they didn't do it was because they received so much criticism in 2021 and in 2020 because of just how woke it was. Well, this year's was just as woke. So I accessed a publicly available website where I found those documents posted. And I decided to share them with the world. And I shared them on Twitter, and Twitter didn't like that very much. So I appealed my suspension from Twitter after I had laid out what the documents were. I would have told Twitter where I got the documents had they asked, but they didn't. And I made the documents available on the John Locke Foundation website. So it wasn't as if it wasn't out already. I appealed my suspension. They rejected my appeal. I appealed again, and they just waited and waited and waited. And so I deleted the offending tweets, and they allowed me back on, but not before Twitter went crazy and retweeted everything. And suddenly the national news is picking up on this. I appeared on the Laura Ingraham show, and I talked to reporters from across the nation because everyone was wondering, what is the NEA talking about? And I was the only one who knew, and I decided to let everyone know. So if I can cause trouble like that in the future, I will certainly try. And Twitter is not going to deter me or anyone else who wants to provide the free flow of information from organizations that are working behind the scenes to undermine one of our most important public institutions, our public schools.
Thank you. Thank you so much for doing that and for posting it on Twitter. And I'm sorry you got in trouble, but we appreciate that. Thank you so much for joining me today, Dr. Stoops. I have really enjoyed this. I've learned a lot, and I hope that the viewers have learned a lot as well. Your knowledge is just so invaluable when it comes to education issues. So we really do appreciate that.
Thank you.
And to our viewers, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope that you'll join us again and learn some more. And to our candidates, keep working out there. And I look forward to seeing you all again next time on Eye on Education.